Wi-Fi can be used to ID you. Make sure you're protecting your W-2s. Hard drive failure rates. And USB drives are spreading malware. All this and more coming up next. Two were arrested for hacking the Washington CCTV cameras right before the Trump inauguration. The two that were arrested, a British man and a Swedish woman, were both 50 years old. If you weren't aware, 123 of the 187 CCTV cameras in Washington, D.C. Were taken over by a type of malware right before the Donald Trump inauguration. The piece of malware, like most, asked for a Bitcoin ransom, but instead the DC Police Department just took the devices offline and essentially re-imaged them, rebooted them, reset them up. Moral of the story: if the Washington, D.C. police can't take care of CCTV cameras, chances are yours are probably a little bit vulnerable to the internet as well. So as always, be careful with any camera that's attached to the internet. This next article, Wi-Fi signals can be used to ID individuals by body shape, is a bit of an older article, but I wanted to make sure everyone had seen it. Now, a group of individuals has released a program called FreeSense, Freesense, that uses interruptions in Wi-Fi signal to identify body shapes and motion patterns. And of course, these can then be relayed back or correlated with actual people, and you can then ID a person. The test itself was just a proof of concept, but it looks like the proof of concept is true, and it could be actually used for IDing people. And as most houses now have Wi-Fi, of course, you're going to be expecting the law enforcement authorities to be using this, whether in secret or out in the open and public, as a way to ID individuals. Back over to Krebs on security. As it is the new year, well, a little bit past as we're now in February, tax season is approaching. And what does that mean? Well, fraudulent W-2s. People all over the dark web and other nefarious places where crackers and hackers and other nefarious ne'er-do-wells hang out. It looks like the newest thing to be selling other than credit cards and drugs and other illegal commodities is now W-2s. So make sure, as always, that you are very careful with your personal information, especially your tax information. Looks like a W-2 will cost you anywhere between $4 to $20 on the dark web. Again, wanted to make people aware. Please be careful how you go about handling your taxes. Unsecure email is not the way to do it. You want to make sure you're using some type of secure program that encrypts your data. When you go on to read the article, most of the data is actually collected from hacking HR departments, usually through phishing schemes where someone will pretend to be a higher up in a company and ask someone in HR for a list of all the updated W-2 information. Because, of course, once again, it's tax season. So no matter how secure you are, you want to make sure that the people you work with are also secure, and more importantly, your information is secure. Hard drives. If you're not familiar with Backblaze, I highly recommend going to their website. They have a very good collection of data that they have been taking over the years for hard drive failure rates. As the year is now new, they have released their 2016 review of different hard drive models that they've collected data for all last year. I have it posted up on the screen here. Looks like the Seagate ST400 4 terabyte model was had the most failure rates by way of drive. By way of percentages, it looks like the HDS7 HGST actually had the most failures percentage-wise. Now, of course, all of these drives looks like they had at the lowest 45 drives and at the highest near 35,000 drives that they were taking data on. So some of the statistics, of course, can be skewed. Some, of course, they don't notate, like Toshiba, as they only had 46 drives that they were testing, or a particular model of Toshiba. But again, you want to take a look at this list. If any of your hard drives are related to this list, you want to make sure that you're taking care of that drive. I recommend SpinRite if you're not familiar with a application that you can purchase online. I'll put the name of the website in the notes below, but SpinRite will help maintain and keep your hard drives in good condition, especially if one of your hard drives is listed here as one that it has a high failure rate. This doesn't mean go and run out and buy a new hard drive. It just means to pay attention. If you're getting errors more than usual, if your hard drive is slowing down, if you have a increase in strange rebooting or blue screens, or again, just notice poor performance, it might be time to look into either a piece of software to monitor that drive a little bit more closely, or time to replace the drive. Over to securityweek.com. Looks like Kelihos is now spreading via USB drives. If you're not familiar with Kelihos, Kelihos is the malware behind one of the largest and ongoing botnet collections out there. Once it takes over your computer, it then attaches itself to a larger network and makes your computer a drone to do processing for a larger mass network out there of computers that have been taken over. As per usual, be careful where you get your data from, where you get your different programs from, and more importantly, you want to make sure the USB drives that you are using or finding or lending out or getting back and using again are clean of malware like this. We will close out today with an article from infosecinstitute.com. How easy is it for hackers to crack your password? Of course, passwords have been in the news lately as they are one of the entry points for hacking any system. There are many websites out there that can help you pick a better password by showing you the entropy or the difficulty that your password generates related to someone trying to brute force your password with a program meant to crack it. Here's a nice little diagram of, generally speaking, what it would take to crack a password. So 5 characters has about 10 seconds worth of time on a computer with someone who knows what they're doing. As the number of characters increase, so too does the time. So a 10-character password on average would take about 3,000 years to break. Now, there are other ways around that. You do have dictionary-based attacks that try to guess the password rather than brute forcing the password. So, again, some helpful hints on what you can do. Capitalized letter, make sure you're using uppercase and lowercase. Make sure you insert random numbers between words, putting numbers before or after words, and symbols, special characters if the password allows it. All of those things will slow down a password cracker. Again, if you do a quick Google search, you'll find plenty of websites out there that will show you the entropy of your password and how it's definitely time to change your password, especially if it's on the password lists that I've mentioned before that come out every year of the mostly used passwords. Definitely don't want to be using a password that's on that list. I'm going to end today and remind you, please go out and support the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They're a wonderful organization that helps maintain the digital rights of all of us that podcast. If you have the means to do so, please go out and support them today. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider sharing the podcast if you found it interesting and know someone else who you believe would find this interesting as well. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good afternoon.